photo is just a photo, right? Well, not always. Welcome to the Is That Really Photography podcast, where we investigate and celebrate the lesser known aspects of photography, photographic art, and the fun which you can have when you step away from the mainstream. I'm Mara Robinson. Today we're exploring cyanotypes, finding your muse, and becoming a surprise author with artist Angela Chalmers on this episode of Is That Really Photography? Angela, welcome to the show. Cyanotypes have been enjoying something of a renaissance in the last few years, but you've been working with them for quite some time. Can you tell us a little bit about how you started working with the process?
I discovered cyanotype when I was studying for my degree, when I was a painter. I kind of graduated as a painter using inks and watercolours on paper. And I was painting mainly because it was a painting course. So all the tutors were painters. I'm married to a photographer, and I thought, I don't want to graduate as a photographer because he does that. And so I was doing a project and I was painting nudes. So I was dealing with the human form, and I used to use brown, kind of sepia coloured inks. And the colour is very similar to when you tone a cyanotype. So I had that colour brown in my head. And then I was doing this project and I thought I really like to try and get the figure looking like it's encased in ice. So I thought, well, blue, green, all these kind of icy colours. And I started Googling and I came across these lovely blue images. And I was thinking, wow, that's exactly the colour I need. What is it? And it turned out to be cyanotypes. And so I said to my husband, do you know anything about them? Can you help me, get started? So we just, over a weekend, dabbled and had a go and created these beautiful blue images using digital negatives. So I'd taken pictures of myself, actually, of my arms and my legs, and inverted the negative. So in fact, made a positive to then create a negative cyanotype print. And that was about 20 years ago. So that's where it started from. But since it was a painting degree or painting fine art course, I carried on painting and kind of pushed it aside. I thought one day I'll go back to that. When I graduated, I was really fortunate to be selling, and I was creating lots of paintings because people liked them. And I felt like I was just churning them out, like just making them for other people. And thought, oh, well, I'm going to stop now. I'm going to have a little break, and I'll just go back to the cyanotypes. That was probably 15 odd years ago. My little break has become like this huge obsession, and it's just this addiction to making them, which I can't stop. And I've not returned to painting since.
So what actually is a cyanotype?
Okay, so it was invented in 1842 by Sir John Herschel, and basically it's two chemicals that are mixed together. You've got potassium ferrocyanide and ammonium ferric citrate, and these are iron salts. And when they're combined together to make one solution, it is light sensitive. And if you coat a surface, for example, paper, fabric, people are doing it on glass and wood, you can create an image by using that surface. And you can do this with using objects, cameraless photography, which is what I'm more into, or you can use photography, so negatives. And a lot of people don't realize that cyanotypes is a photography-based technique. They just think it's some form of printmaking, or I don't know, it's another form of watercolor painting. So that, they don't really realize that they're getting themselves into a photographic printing process. So it's a very old process which has become very popular right now, which is great.
You're based down in Scarborough, and I believe you've done a lot of work, cyanotype based, around one of the churches and one of the former residents of Scarborough.
Yes. So this has become my main body of work. I discovered that the church around the corner, which is a pre-Raphaelite Victorian church, which has windows designed by William Morris and Rossetti and Ford Madox Brown. I didn't realise at the time that the lady who paid for the church to be built, who put most of the money up, lived where I live now. And as soon as I found that out, I was really fascinated and started to research all about her. Because inside the church, there's a pew with a seat, with a plaque which says Miss Mary Craven's seat. And nobody ever sits in this seat, but I do all the time. So now it kind of, people say, oh, that's the artist's seat. So because I have, become the artist in residence, and it sounds very grand, and it is a great opportunity, but I'm just in there all the time, and I just look at the windows. I feel just the atmosphere of the place. I think about Mary Craven all the time when I'm at home, and the church. And it's, for me, as an artist, it's just been a great kind of inspiration. Then through my research, I found out about this story. So she was a well-respected, generous lady, built the church, but she was caught picking flowers in the local gardens, and she got threatened with prosecution. And I absolutely love this story because I just think, well, if that was me, I'd be mortified that I'd been caught. So maybe she was the same. And I do go around the gardens. I pick flowers, and I just think, well, if someone's going to stop me, I'll just say, well, Mary Craven did it, and I'm doing it now. But I just love that story. So I made this artwork, which was really to celebrate her, to represent her. So the Victorian style dress, which I cyanotype printed on muslin, and overlaid it with flowers and symbols from the windows, the ideas, the natural, just the nature, the love of nature. And that's it really. It's just growing all the time, my work. I did this series of tattoos. So I photographed some of my friends who've got these amazing arms, sleeves, covered in tattoos, roses and bird cages. And my ideas really were about flower collecting in modern day society. We don't go picking flowers, we put flowers on our skin, some of us tattoo our skin with flowers. And I just saw that connection and thought that would work really well as a nice little series. Then moving on from that, I started to tone these cyanotypes with rose petals to get a different colour. So it was just continuing developing this body of work.
You mentioned the toning of the cyanotypes. Now, last year, you surprised quite a few of us by publishing an amazing book called Creative Cyanotype. And the first I knew about it was when it was on Instagram, and I was like, oh my word, tell us, how did this happen?
Oh, thank you for saying that. I mean, I think it's only just sinking in what's happened, honestly. I got this email from a publisher who just raised the question, we're looking for someone to write a cyanotype book. Would you do it? And I said, well, I said yes first. And then, because she said, we could get anybody to write this book, but we want artists to write these books because we know that they're experts. So they have a lot of experience. They know the ups and downs, the failures and the successes. And so I said yes and started, well, no, I didn't start writing straight away. I think it took me about 3 months to sit and wonder how on earth I'm going to start this book. And I had about a year to write it. Eventually I got started, but I was a bit delayed in finishing it. But so my husband photographed a lot of the pictures in the book of me making. I'd just have to shout to him and say, I'm just about to start like this toning. Will you just take a series of pictures? And it was all good fun. I think it just took longer than I thought. I had to put myself into isolation. I didn't see many people. Nobody saw me. And I think the fact that you didn't know about it or nobody knew I was doing it because I didn't tell anybody. Because I think I didn't realise what was happening. It is honestly just sinking in now. So it was published in September and I've just started book signing. So I'm a bit of a slow starter, but I've been told I can have a year of signing books.
So you've done this book.
I mean, what next? You know, I mean, I know that you've been abroad and you've worked in France. I seem to remember something about Chateau Gates or something.
So, well, yeah, I mean, interestingly, well, it's a village, but Scarborough, Scorby village, is twinned with a little French town called Pornic. And each year, so they swap visits, so one year they'll go to Pornic, and one year, three artists turned up, and I'm not involved with this twinning association at all, but I had an email from one of the artists who actually wrote to 10 artists, she said, and only one artist replied, and that was me. And I said, I'd love to meet you. So we met and we became friends and we just collaborated. So we had a group exhibition here at Wood End in Scarborough. And then we took the show over to Pornic. And I've exhibited my work about 3-4 times now over there. So we've got a nice little collaboration going on. And I even took the Mary Craven dress because they were desperate to show that to everybody in the towns. Because I had to take that over, I made a second dress to leave at the church. Hence, that's why I've got two. And also the dress has been to Sweden. So Mary Craven has travelled. The dress has travelled a few places. The next thing I'd love to do is write a book about Mary Craven and my association, my work, and everything, all the little spooky little occurrences that happen at home when I'm not expecting. And I'm sure she's, if you believe in spirits, I'm sure her spirit maybe is at the church, not at my house. There's definitely something spiritual growing, and it's a nice feeling, and it's very inspiring.
What do you think she would make of all this? She was Victorian, wasn't she? So would she have known? I mean, what sort of would she have known about the cyanotype process?
Yeah, I think so, because she was very well read. She was a wealthy lady. She didn't have to work. She wasn't married. She didn't have children. And she sponsored lots of people. She also built another church and a school in town, and she gave money to the poor. I think she would have loved what I'm doing. She died in 1889, so it definitely would have heard about Anna Atkins because the timing is the same. I'm sure she would have known about Julia Margaret Cameron as well. I think she was a well-travelled lady. She would have known about cyanotypes, and even, I've thought, well, maybe she was picking flowers to make botanical cyanotypes.
Oh, wouldn't that be amazing if that was the
Yeah,
case? That would be absolutely just
I think that's what she was
delightful.
up to.
I've got to say, I have actually seen the first dress, not the second one. And when I saw it, you had it on a framework and it was lit up from inside, and it was absolutely gloriously beautiful. For a long time, on the back of that, I didn't want to show anyone my cyanotypes because I didn't
Um,
think they were good enough. Because
no,
I felt you, no, what I felt was that you had set a really high bar to show what could be done with a medium that so many people just dismiss. It's not considered, as you said, one of the big photographic processes. You know, people talk of collodion and, the stuff like that. And yet, actually, it's so versatile and you can do so much with it.
yes, it is looked down upon by some of the top, alternative photographers, and what they do. It's toxic chemicals, and who wants to use those? I'd much prefer to be. I just love the color blue, but I also love them when they're toned brown. It is so versatile. I'm super addicted to it. Everybody, I mean, you just have to practice, practice, practice. And I'm very lucky that I had the time to do that. So, and I had so many ideas. You can easily get stuck with, well, what should I do next? But I think I found my inspiration at the church. And I'm working on a piece right now, a new piece for the church. I won't say anything and it's going to be shown for the Big Ideas event that Scarborough has every year. It's another Mary Craven piece. Because I don't know if I mentioned this before, but we have not been able to find a portrait of her, so nobody knows what she looks like. And for me as an artist, that really does not matter, because in fact it helps. It helps me in all sorts, really. So this piece is based on that idea that we do not know what she looks like.
Okay, well that is my cue to let my husband know we're going to Scarborough, because I would love to see it. So now you've whetted our appetite for cyanotype, where can people go to find out more about you and your work? Where can they go to find out more about cyanotypes? And where can they get your beautiful book from?
Right. Okay. Well, I have a website. That's angelachalmers.com. I'm currently working on a shop where I'll be selling the book and also prints, reproduction prints, note cards, and originals. The book is available worldwide, which is amazing. Any local bookstore would be able to get hold of it. So Waterstones, Smiths, Amazon, you can get it, and Whitby Bookshop, which is where I just did a book signing on Friday. I would love everyone just to go and buy it from them, because these local bookshops need a lot of support to keep them going, and that would be fantastic.
I believe you also teach cyanotypes as well?
In the process of scheduling a series of creative cyanotype workshops. It'll be really nice just to show people how to do some of the little projects in my book. I'm open for any suggestions if people want to just say, email me and say, could you do a workshop and learn how to do toning?
Are those in person only, or can you do them virtually over the internet as well if people are in other parts of the country?
Yeah, my workshops are in person only, online workshops. That's something for the future, which I'd love to do.
You can find the show notes for this episode, including Angela's details and links, all over on our website at isthatreallyphotography.com. If you like some more Is That Really Photography in your life, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on the platform of your choice. If you love your social media, find us on Facebook, Instagram and Threads. But most of all, don't forget to have fun creating images with light, in whichever form you enjoy.